Hey, I know it's been a minute. I've been really stressed out, I've been really busy recently, but I've just had a complete one-track mind today, and that is to film this video and put it up because I have some books that I read last month that I absolutely have to talk about with somebody else. I read 7 books in February, which that was good. I'm okay with that. 7's fine. I think I'm like 1 or 2 books behind on my Goodreads goal, so like, I feel like I read a pretty wide variety of books last month, and I want to go ahead and talk about 3 that I read for my last reading vlog that I did on my channel. And that was where I read 3 of Jess's from Books Past Bedtime's favorite books. So for that video, I read #Junkie by Cambria Hebert, which was like this contemporary male-male romance surrounding drag racing, kind of a friends to lovers situation. Then I read A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson, which is just this super hyped YA mystery thriller book. And lastly, I read Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, a classic. So I'm not going to get into any of my thoughts here. I'm sorry if that's disappointing, but it would mean a lot to me if you want to go check out that vlog. I worked really hard on it. I will put the link to it in the cards of this video and also in the description. So let's move on to the remaining 4 books that I read last month. I have 2 romances I want to talk about, and I have 2 suspense thriller books. I gotta be careful in calling things thrillers because sometimes I'll read a book and label it as a thriller in my mind, and actually it's more like a slow burn psychological suspense books. That's what I'm gonna call those last 2. I'm gonna save those for the end because they are 2 of my new all-time favorite books. All right, let's do it. Let's get started. First, I read The Kiss Quotient by Helen Huang, and I gave this book 3 stars. I still don't know how to unpack all of my feelings about this book. It was actually a big reason of why I've put off filming this video, because I just feel like it was lacking a little something, and I can't put my finger on what. I feel like the characters were very well developed, and the plot was also very well developed throughout the story. I really liked the pacing, I really liked the level of steam, and I liked the extreme level of detail of diversity and inclusion that went into the entire book. And this actually is Own Voices for High Functioning Autism, but I don't know, this might be one of the cases of this book was so highly praised from everybody that I talked to that maybe my own expectations were too high. I've got to stop doing that because I feel like I've been having that complaint a lot here recently. I just need to lower my standards maybe. This book follows the unlikely love story between Stella and Michael. Stella's some type of statistician. I can't think of what her exact job title was, but she works really well with numbers and algorithms, things like that. And she has Asperger's syndrome, which makes it really difficult for her to socialize, even though she wants to have relationships with people, like whether it's as a friend or like she really wants a boyfriend. But she struggles with it, even though she is so successful in her professional career. And Michael is this Vietnamese Swedish male escort, and these 2 characters' paths cross when Stella hires him as her male escort to kind of teach her everything that she needs to know about being in a relationship, like everything that would come with that. And from there, it's just a pretty charming story about these 2 getting to know each other a little bit better. We get a lot of great family drama and sadness from Michael's side of the story, and then also some really interesting like parent-child relationships going on with Stella's side. I mean, also with Michael's side too, but Stella has like a pretty interesting relationship with her parents as well, and like how they try to look out for her, but like at the end of the day, they just don't have the same vision for things. Obviously, there are some long-running miscommunications going on throughout the entire story, which has just really become a pet peeve for me recently. I don't know why, it's just become a staple in these contemporary romance books. Like, I know there needs to be some drama and some conflict without it being like something a lot grittier or like more disturbing. But I'm getting so tired of the, oh, I misunderstood everything there. We're actually on the same page. Like, not to sound dramatic, but I almost DNF'd like 5 different times just because I couldn't take it anymore. At the end of the day, I'm really glad I finished the book, but it's not something I think I'm going to continue on with the rest of the series. Next is one that if you are a romance reader, I need you to drop everything and pick this up as soon as possible. It's A Princess in Theory by Alyssa Cole. Near perfection in a book. This is a 4.5 stars from me, and I can't stop thinking about it. So this book is about Naledi, and she's actually a scientist. She's a woman in STEM. She studies viruses actually, and she's so strong, she's so independent, but she is an orphan, and she grew up through the foster care system, and it affected her life in a lot of different ways that she just always felt like she needs to keep pushing through and go on to the next thing and strive for greatness. And now that she's hit this point in her life where everything is just so stressful and she's really on the verge of burning out, like right at the pinnacle of all of that stress, she meets this guy, Prince Thafiso, and the story behind it is so funny. So basically, he's this African prince who is convinced that he is supposed to marry Naledi. So he travels across the world to meet her, and when they do meet, she mistakes him for somebody who works at the restaurant where she has a part-time job to try to make ends meet. So just in the moment, he doesn't know what to do. He starts going along with it, and they strike up this friendship and eventually something more, and it's just, I know I just said that the miscommunication thing was really bugging me, but this felt different. I don't know, maybe I'm just a huge hypocrite, but I thought that it worked so well in this book of her not knowing who he is. I know when I read some reviews, people really hate that trope of like lying about your identity. I'm not sensitive to that at all, and I just really did think it was so funny, and it really allowed Prince Thafiso to be able to be just a normal person and be himself without having that title of a prince precede him. This book has some of the best banter I've ever read. I can't wait to continue on with the series. One thing I wasn't expecting was we hit a point in the book where we go to Africa, and I loved seeing that palatial setting. It was so much fun. I can't recommend this book enough. If you're interested in it, like even a little bit, then I think you're really gonna like it. I don't have much more to say about it now because I don't want to give anything away, but it was such a cute book. Okay, now we're getting into the two things that I read last month that are just going down as all-time favorites for me. The first is actually more of a short story or a novella. It has less than 100 pages, somewhere around 85 pages, I think. And it's called The Test by Sylvan Newville, and I feel like I've been seeing this everywhere recently. So the setup for this story is really simple. It's all about this man who is trying to take his British citizenship test. He is an immigrant, and he has 2 children and a wife, and he needs to pass this test in order for everybody to be a British citizen, and if not, they're going to be deported back to where they're from. So just from the setup, the stakes are very high, and then the plot takes a turn into one of the absolute craziest stories I've ever read. I am so sorry I can't tell you anything past that, but just know that if you decide to read this, it's very graphic, it's very disturbing, and it's something that's really gonna make you think. There's a lot of great discussion on ethics and morals going on here. I love stuff like that. I love it. And I can honestly say I've never read anything like this before. It almost felt Black Mirror-ish. It really needs to be an episode of Black Mirror. It nailed that vibe completely. So if you like the show Black Mirror, I think you would like this short story. I read it in one day, like on my lunch break, so it's something really fast to get through, but I just tore through it, and I really have thought about it almost every day since finishing it like over a month ago, so highly recommend The Test. And lastly, a new all-time favorite book for me, Confessions by Kenai Monato. If you follow me on Goodreads, I gave this 4.5 stars. It was kind of like a rage rating when I finished it because something happened at the end that like it wasn't exactly what I wanted, so I like rage rated it 4.5 instead of 5 stars, but I don't know what I was on. Like, this is a 5-star book if I've ever read one. If you see the tabs here, you know, I rarely tab. I have to be really into it, like really feeling a book to tab it up, and I just started tabbing every time I either gasped, got chills, or my jaw dropped. Like, this is so crazy. Sadly, this is another one I just can't give too much away about the plot without giving away like what the entire book is, and I don't want anything to be spoiled for anyone going into this. Go in as blind as possible. What I am gonna say about it is that we begin with a teacher who is giving her last lecture to her students. She teaches high school age kids, and while she's talking, we find out that her daughter has died recently, and not only that, but that her daughter was murdered, and not only that, but that she thinks that 2 students in the classroom that she's talking to actually are responsible for her daughter's death. The story is told in 6 different parts, and we have different perspectives for each, so we're really seeing the same story retold and retold just from different perspectives. I just couldn't get enough of how the narrative we thought that we knew kept shifting until like the second to last perspective we realized that the story we thought we knew is just not at all what happened. With each new perspective, we get new identities, new details introduced, and we also start feeling either empathy for people that we hated, or flip that around and we start hating people that earlier we might have felt sorry for. Like, you just don't know what anything is until the book's conclusion, which is really crazy. It's just a crazy ending to this book. But it was so perfect. Like, everything about this book was so perfect. There was actually a movie that was adapted from this book that I can't get my hands on. I can't find it anywhere, so I'm pretty sad about it. Just because some of the scenes in this book are so cinematic, I could just see everything in my mind and I want to see it on screen. But I'm gonna stop rambling now because Okay, that's everything I read in February. I actually have, if I can like pull it off, I have a fun vlog that should be coming within the next 2 weeks, and I know I've not been posting that much, but it's because I've been working on more like vlog footage, and to do the vlogs, I actually have to read some books, and yeah, it's taking more time than I thought it was going to, but just keep an eye out for those. I don't really want to give anything away at the moment, just in case it falls through, which it still might. But I just want to thank everyone so much for clicking on this video, for hanging out with me for a little bit. I can't wait to see you in the next one.